Does that make sense for everyone? Okay, this is a really good one. Speak your ads, right? Most of you are at a terrible disadvantage. If you're like me, if you went to college or university or any kind of higher education, you're at a disadvantage because you've learned words that are above the average level of comprehension. It's been shown that most people in the population have about an 8th grade level of comprehension. So every ad you write needs to be written to a 14-year-old. Otherwise, people are not going to understand. It's going to be too sophisticated for the average population. Now, of course, there's markets, if you're targeting academics and stuff like that, where there's different things, but they can still understand basic written words as well. I tell people all the time, speak your ads, because copywriting is just salesmanship in print. So when you speak your ads, it's like being on the phone on a sales call, and if you speak the ad, you tend to say it in a more conversational way. We tend to speak in a lot of basic language, but we write in like a complex academic way. I had to train myself to not write. I was very academic. I had to train myself to not write like that. But if you pick up the voice recorder on your phone and you're like, attention business owners, would you like to generate an additional 100 leads a month? If so, pay attention. Hey, my name's James. I speak like I'm actually writing an ad because I've written so many ads. But most people will be able to do that in a way that is a lot more conversational. Record it, transcribe it, and you'll notice the difference between what's transcribed and what you would ordinarily write. Does that make sense? Cool. If you've got any questions, guys, just sing out. But that's a really valuable one, especially if you're just starting out. Or even if you've been writing ads for a while and you just want to see how you sound. Don't write it and record it. Just literally think. Even if you stumble through it, it'll be a really cool way for you to see the difference. All right, thatectomy. This is a word you should cut from all of your copy. The word that is largely useless in most instances. I'm not sure why we use it. We use it because it's relevant in some cases, but most of us have grown to use it in a way that's not necessary, right? And look at these two statements here. The department confirmed that there were some victims. The department confirmed there were some victims. Like, it's totally unnecessary. So that is a word that you don't need to use. Needed to use it in that sentence there, obviously. But in most cases with writing, you don't need to use it. When I was learning copywriting, I was in this mastermind with this guy named Steve Plummer. Great dude. And he talked, I did this like 12-week course, and he would do all these writing exercises every week. And some of the weeks were like shorten your sentences as much as possible. And then the next week would be like, try and create more rhythm in your writing. And it was crazy as we went through all this stuff. You realize how conditioned we are to write way more words than we need to communicate an idea. I don't know if it's from at school where we were like taught to write 1,000-word essays and we were just BSing to hit a word count or whatever. But you kind of realize how much rubbish we write when things can be communicated very simply. So that'd be another thing that's not an actual thing I'm talking about here. Actually read what you're writing and see if you can say your ideas in a more simple manner, if that makes sense. Number 4, this is a quick one, but a good one. Always use the word discover instead of the word learn. No one wants to learn how to do something. They want to discover it. Why? Because learning insinuates that you have to go back to school. And most people spent 12 years at school, disengaged, sitting up the back of the room, slagging off the teacher or whatever. Well, not most people. I don't know about you guys. I definitely didn't. But learning insinuates this idea that you've got to go back to school. Whereas discover insinuates that the solution you're looking for has always been there. You just weren't aware of it. But the good news is, because it's always there, you can quickly grab hold of it. Does that make sense? So it's subtle, but it makes an impact. And here's an example. Learn how to 2 times the profit from your Facebook ads, or discover the secret system a German backpacker stumbled upon to instantly double profit from his Facebook campaign. Now, obviously the second one it's probably a bad example because I've juiced it up a bit more to overstate the point. But even if you take out the German backpacker thing and the secret system, if you're just discover how you can 2x the profit from your Facebook ads, it insinuates that the solution's already there. You don't have to learn it, you don't have to do any work, hence it's fast, quick and easy. Does that make sense? Subtle differences that make a big impact. Rule number 5 is what we call the power of 3. Guys, in our society, everything comes in rules of 3, right? Like when someone tells a joke, the punchline's always on the 3rd thing. But then there's the 3 little mice, the 3 musketeers. I've got the examples here. The 3 wise men, the 3 stooges, Goldilocks and the 3 bears, 3 blind mice, 3 little pigs. For whatever reason, we're conditioned to this number 3. And so if I'm ever listing out benefits on a landing page, in emails, on ads, I'll do things in like a sequence of 3. So a good example is this here, right? The underused writing trick that makes you more powerful, popular, and persuasive. I wouldn't necessarily have had all of them starting with P, and both of them have got all with P and all with C. 53 freelancing mistakes that are costing you clients cash and credibility. Those 3, that 1, 2, and 3 is just like a thing that we're like rhythmically conditioned to. If that was 53 freelancing mistakes that are costing you clients and cash, it sort of seems a little bit incomplete. And if you had 4 there, it's a little bit too far. So it's about, a lot of copy is about creating rhythm in the words that you use. So if you're like listing out the benefits for your business, like we're a HR consultancy and we help people, or we help business owners, create, I should not have picked this example because I don't know anything about what you do, but, we help business owners create like employee contracts, we set boundaries and we da-da-da. That's like the 3 big things we can help you with. It just has a nicer rhythm to it, if that makes sense. All right, this is a big one, guys, global beliefs. If you look at like gossip magazines, I don't know who buys them or why they buy them. Actually, I do sometimes because the copywriting in them is phenomenal. But on a primal and like psychological level, people believe in things like secrets, myths, lies, truths, fairy tales, all these kind of things. And they, in a lot of cases, want to believe it, right? And so I always try to harness things like, 6 secrets to doubling your business growth, or the harsh truth about vinyl dance floors. That was the headline I ran for that company. But tapping into these things like you've been lied to, let me tell you, like the truth. There's a couple of big products like the truth about vaccines, the truth about cancer. By using a headline like that, you're implying that everyone's been lied to. The truth about quitting smoking. It's like, yeah, I'm going to tell you the truth. You know what that means? You don't know the truth, which means everyone else has lied to you, but it's subtle. It's subtle. I mean, look at these here. Hillary caught in sex scandal cover-up. Bombshell secrets she hid from Bill. Truth about Hillary and her deputy chief of staff. Like, you don't even know what that means, but it implies that there's some kind of gossip there. Paula Deen's racist confessions exposed on video. All of these things, secrets, bombshells, truth, lies, all of that stuff, as like sleazy as it might seem, is really, really impactful if you do it in a tactful way. Has anyone got any questions so far? Awesome. Yeah, as I said, here's another example, which is the one I showed you earlier. All right, secret number 7, perhaps or maybe. This is a really, really impactful one. It's a mistake I see a lot of people make. People make this mistake of telling their prospects exactly what the problems are that they're facing. And it's a bad idea. People will say things like, might be like, hey, do you want to lose some weight? You're probably in a position right now where you're 5 kilos overweight, you've got no energy, you can't sleep well, and you can't run around with your kids on the weekend. Even if all of those things are true for the prospect reading it, it's very confronting to read, right? So what you want to do is like suggest that they might be facing a problem or insinuate that this could be a challenge for them. So you might say, hey, do you want to lose some weight? Perhaps you're in a situation where you've got 5 kilos or so that you want to lose. Maybe you don't have as much energy as you'd love to have. Potentially you're in a situation where you're not sleeping as well as you want, or you don't have the fitness to run around with your kids on your weekend. If you'd like to resolve those issues, let me explain how I can help you. See how that's like a lot softer than just straight up saying to someone, and I've got an example of it here, than straight up saying to someone, you already rock your massage skills and you know now's the time to step up in your business. The problem is you don't know how. This is a bad example because she actually used maybe there, but that aside, you're stressed out because there's so much to do, yet it seems like your hard work isn't creating the lifestyle you expected. All you want is consistency and to be able to create a long-term thing doing what you love, right? The reason why you want to suggest these pain points they might be facing is because if they're not facing them and you say, you're stressed out because there's so much to do, let's just say that's not true. People are going to be like, oh no, it's not for me, like I'm not facing that. But if you say maybe you're stressed out because you've got a lot to do, there's a lot better chance that they then go, oh, you know what, that doesn't apply to me, but I'll keep reading. Like, because you said maybe it does, and well, in this case it doesn't, which means it could still be relevant to me. So you want to insinuate, and the stop smoking example, Michael's a good one. Like, I mean, I know nothing about smoking, but insinuate some of the problems they're facing, because no doubt they would be different for different people. It's more about appealing to them with the right solution. Example number 8 is what we call 8th grade Kincaid. So as I mentioned earlier, the average person has an 8th grade level of comprehension. And interesting fact, at Entrepalooza, I actually said this to everyone. I watched this thing on the Republican nominee vote for the last US election. They did a study. Every Republican nominee was found to communicate at an 8th grade level. Trump communicates at a 4th grade level or something like that. That's like a true study. They did it, and I said it, and everyone was like, oh, Trump, he said it again. But it was true, right? He communicates at like a 3rd or 4th grade level, which is actually pretty concerning about the average intelligence. Oh, I forget there's an American in the room. I can't say that. They're really smart people. Anyway, the whole point of this is that there's a scale called the Flesch-Kincaid system, right? And I can't tell you how it works, but essentially if you go into Microsoft Word and just Google how to do this, you can get what's called the Flesch-Kincaid rating of anything you write, and it will give you a number, between, I don't know what the total scale is, but bottom line it's here between 5 and 10. It'll give you a number that'll tell you, who it can be understood by. And you want to be around that 7th to 8th grade level, 6 to 6.9. If you're not, you need to go and change some of the words you use. You need to break up some of your paragraphs. But it's a great way for you to know before you launch an ad that the copy you've written suits an 8th grade student. So that's a really good tool. It's called Flesch-Kincaid. Did I actually write? Flesch is spelled F-L-E-S-C-H. Really interesting stuff, and good way for you guys to know is like a benchmark of where you're at. You even go and copy existing ads or emails or whatever that you write and figure out where it's at, and then look to how you can improve it. Okay, as I mentioned before, secret number 9 is this idea of starting your story in the middle, right? Every great James Bond film does this. They start in the middle of some action scene, next thing 20 minutes has passed and the beginning credits roll up and you're like, holy hell, I thought I'd been here for like 2 hours, because you get so engrossed in it. When you start in the middle of a story, everyone wants to know how it ends. It's like the brain craves that like resolution point. It's why, it's kind of why I don't come on stage and say, hey, I'm James, I'm a marketer and this is what I do. I'll always be like, it was 3 a.m. and there was blood running down the wall and I picked up a baseball bat, and then everyone's got to know the ending, you know what I mean? That's a really good example, and I'll show you this. When I was putting this presentation together a few weeks ago, I literally found this the day, it was probably the 3rd of September when I did it. And I just remember reading this, and I read the whole thing, and this is a guy I met who lives in Colombia, a British guy, runs a business that helps people with LinkedIn lead generation. I was just scrolling my news feed, and next thing I read this entire thing, my heart started beating out my chest. I hadn't felt this way in as long as I could remember. Like, I knew he was marketing to me when I started reading it, and it still compelled me to read the whole thing. It was a Saturday night, and I was supposed to be relaxing, and all I'd done is log into Facebook. It wasn't working, But because he starts in the middle of a story, you just have to know the ending of it. You want to always try and start your stories at an emotional high point. Like when I came out this morning, I started saying how I was homeless. And everyone's like, well, you don't look homeless right now, so I want to hear how that ended. And a really good point, as I was just saying with the Flesch-Kincaid thing, was that, that was secret number 8. See how this is really spaced out? See how like the longest thing we can see here is like this sentence here, this here. It's not even like a line and a half. When you split your ads up like that's how I write ads, that lowers your Flesch-Kincaid score and gets you into that 8th grade thing, and it just massively increases the readability. That is so much more. Who opens like up an email and if you just see a block of text, you just close it? And I'll talk, that's actually one of my other tips, but that's a good way to reduce this Flesch-Kincaid score. Split it up like that, it just makes it so much easier to read. It's like if you pick up a book, someone's like, man, you got to read this book, and the font's really small. You're like, I don't even want to read it now. It could be the greatest book ever, I just don't care. Make stuff easy and enjoyable for people. Okay, secret number 10 is double up words. I kind of alluded to this earlier, right? This grammatical error can be really, really costly and just generally not smart. And there's a couple of different types of double up words as well. So this is what I call the direct double up. If I had had an extra pencil, I would have finished the exam in time. They were instructed to give her her job back. It makes sense, but it just confuses, it gets people out of that buyer's trance. It creates that environment where they kind of think to themselves like, or they just stop. It could be the most well-written piece of copy, but they stop and they go, if I had, did I read that right? Like, what's going on? And then they kind of get out of that loop in their head. And given that we want to savagely manipulate people, we don't want that to happen. I'm kidding. So just be careful of this kind of thing. You know, if I had an extra pencil, I would have finished the exam in time. They're instructed to give her job back to her or something like that. Find a better way to do it. Then we've got the indirect double up, right? And this was a bit of copy that someone sent me, right? I wanted feedback on. It was a health offer for women over 40. And this one's a little bit more complicated, but you'll see how it works, right? I mean, just straight off the bat, that's how it looked when it got sent to me. That's how it looked when I edited it, right? A lot more readable, but let's look at the copy itself. I've lived and breathed the healthy life for over 20 years now. I literally made it part of my lifestyle, and I want to teach you how you can do it too. How you too can defy age and have the body you've always dreamt of and make achieving this fit right into your lifestyle. So it kind of doubles up and says the same thing. It's like, it's part of my lifestyle. I want to teach you how you can do it too, how you too can defy age and have the body you've always dreamt of and make achieving this fit right into your lifestyle. So I just shorten it up. I've lived and breathed the healthy life for over 20 years now by making it part of my lifestyle. And now I want to share my secrets so you can defy age, get your dream body, and make it fit into your lifestyle. See how it's got that rule of 3? Instead of having, I want to teach you how you can do it too, how you too can defy age. It's just like, I want to share my secrets so you can 1, 2, and 3. I think the bottom line is exactly the same. Start today and you too can make this your story. I think I just changed that to start today and make this your story too. Does that make sense? Yeah, I actually noticed that. This is a slide from Entrepalooza, and I was on stage and I looked at it. I was like, "You're actually kidding me? Like, the copy's spelt wrong." I'm doing all this intricate, like, "Oh yeah, check out all this sick stuff I did." And I was looking at that while I was on stage, thinking like, "I'm glad no one's pointed that out." And to answer your question, I didn't even read it. I was just like, "I know it's a good slide," and I just chucked it in there. Oh, that stuff's bad. It's kind of like that example I gave before of the perhaps or maybe. I was standing on stage at Entrepalooza. I was like, she literally wrote maybe in like the 3rd line. How did you not notice that when you're trying to make an example of people that don't use the word maybe? It's literally right there. But yeah, I don't proofread what I write. I just make sure that the copy fits my rules. But do you guys see how you can shorten up the things you're saying there and to make it, you know, like, again, always view how you can take out stuff. We have this tendency to want to write more and like put more in, but you'll find that most of the simplest ideas can be communicated, most of the best ideas can be communicated simply. Secret number 11 is short sentences. Always write in short sentences, and this is kind of what I was alluding to. And here's a really simple example. I went to the supermarket and then to the movies and then to see my friend. I went to the supermarket, then I went to the movies, then I went to see a friend. By chopping up your sentences and making them short, it creates a lot of rhythm. And if we go back to that example of this one here, you know, it was Saturday night and I was supposed to be relaxing and all I'd done is log into Facebook Messenger and it wasn't working. I'd seen all the posts earlier in the day about Facebook shutting accounts down and I thought mine had gone. Hundreds of thoughts raced through my head. The memories, family photos, my business, the ads, the leads, the meetings. I couldn't imagine life without it. Then I got a grip, all was good. He could even do it more through here, but it's just an example of like when you take long sentences and make them short, it kind of makes your writing awkward. It kind of adds this like sense of rhythm to it where you're kind of saying like, where are we? Should probably get a better example than that, but it makes things like, because we're so used to seeing these long academic sentences that are 2 or 3 lines long, by making them shorter, it just, the good thing about a full stop is people can like shut the idea off. So they read it, they're like, went to the supermarket, full stop. Okay, cool, that's easy. But when you've got this long sentence, they've got to like, okay, yeah, he did that. I went to the supermarket, and then the movies, then he saw a friend, and you're like trying to store all this info before you get to the full stop. Again, really subtle stuff, but it just adds resistance to the person reading your copy. Guys, write this one down. Write this URL down. This is a really, really, really cool tool. It's the Advanced Marketing Institute Headline Analyzer. You can basically go on here and punch any headline into that box there, and it'll rate the emotional marketing value of all the words you've used in your headline. And I can show you some examples of this, and you can play with it and get to a point where it'll show you like, you've got 30% emotional marketing value or 45 or 50. It's actually funny, I talk about this on stage. I haven't used the tool for ages, but it was really, really good, like starting out, trying to get a feel. And over time, you'll see as you write a lot of headlines, you'll see how you see the patterns in the words that are valuable and the words that aren't. So that's just something to be aware of. And it's just a great tool, especially if you're trying to get a feel for it. You can even submit things that aren't headlines just to see how the words you change impact the emotional value. Even just go play with it for fun. I used to do it. As I was alluding to before, space out all of your copy. I have like a rule, every sentence is just a new, if it's a Facebook ad, but same in an email, I'll space out every line. Full stop, then I'll just put like a paragraph break. Not the big breaks, but just like put it to the next line. It just like makes it so much easier to read. No one wants to open up an email. Like, I feel like I'm doing humanitarian work by not making my emails a block of text. It just makes everyone's life better when they got to read them. Like space out all your stuff. It'll reduce your Flesch-Kincaid score. It'll increase the readability. And if you just write in blocks, like I hate when someone sends me an ad that it might be like a client, they send me an ad and I'm like, oh, I actually have to read this. And like they're making it painful. You want to make the whole thing easy. Short sentences, space out all of your paragraphs. Here's 2 emails I got. One's from Scott Bywater. I know he's spoken here before. I was having coffee with him yesterday, but he spaces his out awesomely, right? Again, he doesn't even have one that goes over a line. Oh, that top one goes just over a line. But I think that's because I might have shortened that email so I could take a screenshot. But then here's like someone who made an inquiry from like a university. Of course, someone from a university would do that. It's just painful to read, You open up an email on the right, you don't even want to really see what they've got to say. So just something to be aware of, especially if you're doing cold email, you're in that B2B space and you've got a lot of that stuff going on. Just a good way of splitting it up. This is an ad everyone should use, or use it as an email, or use it as a form of copy, written communication. It's the reasons why ad. I use it as a retargeting ad sometimes, but you can use it as just a cold traffic ad, and it literally is exactly what it looks like. You write an ad that says, 10 reasons why you should do X. It might be join a membership, it might be buy a product, it might be opt in for a certain offer, but this whole idea of you have all this complicated marketing, you might have some videos, you might have a whole host of different things, but when you just get to the end point and you're like, 10 reasons why you should join this membership, or 10 reasons why you should join the academy, and then you list them out. You get X, you get Y, you get Z, A, B, C, D. It might be like, you're going to get this benefit and this many hours of training, and you're going to get featured with this expert, and you're going to get this, and you're going to get that. It just summarizes your offer really simply, just a list of bullet points, and then just has a call to action. And it looks like this. This is an ad I ran for a client. It's the client whose event I spoke at in Dallas. If you're a boutique owner, the Boutique Hub, they help fashion boutique owners grow their business. If you're a boutique owner, brand, wholesaler, or industry professional, that actually violates the rule of 3. You need to see this. 14 reasons why you should become a member of the Hub, and then that's like everything you get. And it's just listed out there simply. You should even have pages like this on your website, right there so they can summarize the whole offer and just see exactly why they should join. I've tested that in a bunch of different industries and generated some really high ROIs running that sort of stuff, which makes it a really good ad to run. These are the 2 ads that I linked you guys to in the first session. So you've already got those links there. Like I said, they're those long ads. Trying to think why I have that slide in there. I have no idea. So there you have it, right? There's my sort of there's 14 things you can do. There's like 40 of them. All these different things I've noticed over years of writing a lot of different stuff and testing a lot of different stuff and figuring out what'll work. That's sort of, they're the ones that are most effective, I think, based on sort of a lot of people that I've coached and helped with this sort of thing. Guys, I wrote a book. Well, it's not a book, it's just like a guide. 18-step process to build a 100K funnel in 14 days or less. Again, I left this slide in here from my last presentation, but if anyone wants to download it, you can check that out. Just kind of steps through the whole process I go through. So yeah, feel free to check that one out. You'll probably get a lot of value out of it. I sort of go through the 3 main funnels I run and build for people. I then talk about copy and research and just how the whole process gets laid out. There's someone say something? Oh, no worries, man. No worries. So yeah, feel free to check that out. And yeah, just remember this, guys. Remember this above all. Everyone wants things fast, quick, and easy. It was one of the first lessons my first mentor taught me, Steve, the guy I mentioned earlier. And you just need to always think when you write an ad, like, does this satisfy fast, quick, and easy? If you go back and look at any marketing you've done, the stuff that worked super well versus the stuff that didn't work so well probably has something to do with this on some sort of level. So that's like it's not even really like a principle for ads you write. It's kind of like an overarching philosophy for how you want to view marketing. That's it, guys. So if you want to stay in touch, you can get offended, add me on Facebook, follow me on the socials, and yeah. Thanks so much, guys, for listening.
All right, big round of applause for James Hepburn.